Hello fellow humans and welcome to another episode of Your Replays. And now, we're gonna have a look at 3 here, the first one in the 2 and 5B, which is kind of back, it got buffed, and then we're gonna look at the TVP and pre-update and why it needed an update, and then the Type 71. Now, how do you get your replays featured? Well, it's actually very simple. Join my Discord server. The link to my Discord server is in the description. I would really appreciate it if you would join. Anyway, now, go to the Clips channel, post your replays there with a description of what happened in the replay, and ideally also the battle results screen. If you don't include a description and the battle results screen, I won't even look at it. If the description is good, I will pick it. Most likely. Now, Hesh, 170mm of penetration on this tank, which is very nice. You know what's also nice? My channel members, so huge thank you for your support. And if you want to support this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe also become a channel member if you want to. Now, Hesh got buffed from 120mm to 170mm, 186 or something like that, with calibrated, so that's pretty strong. And as you can see right there, you can almost pen the lower plate of a Jagdtiger with Hesh. Now, obviously an FE-4202 can do that. However, an FE-4202 has Hesh as its secondary ammo, so there's that. Now, the thing with this vehicle is it only has its gun. The armor is meh. Mobility is fine-ish. And also the turret is the back, which would mean that it's great side scraping. However, you have this plate below the turret that stands out. If you shoot below the turret, there's a plate sticking there. 183, if a 205B side scraping, 183. Ugh, fuck that thing. Whoever buffed that, just get out. Just go home. Like, why would you buff the 183 ever? Anyway, don't side scrape, or at least hope that the enemy doesn't know about that plate. If you are side scraping this tank, that's pretty much the best thing you can do. Now, the 100 is sitting there, and obviously they're in the bad side of the map. This is the side where you don't want to go in. Once you're in there, you ain't getting out, and that's not great. Now, this C100 here got a frontal turret armor buff, but what does frontal turret armor help you when your enemy is on your side and has 180mm of Hesh penetration that goes straight through the turret just like that, and that is lovely. If you don't know what that round thing is, as far as I know, that is a hatch to load shells, so you don't have to get the shell all the way to the top and then down again, so you can load it straight into the turret. Now, the C100 right here, show the HE into the turret ring there. That's an impressive shot. Very well done there. Very done there. The name is Zula, who's the player of this game, by the way. I haven't mentioned that yet, I think. So, now, your biggest enemy at this point are the points. Points are not great the way they are. Supremacy in its current state, I don't like it. What I would do to Supremacy, one of two things. Either reduce the amount of points that can be gained by cap circles, so you don't end up at 1,000 points after 3 minutes, or start from 0, not from 300. Yes, if you get a kill, they won't lose anymore, but they'll stay at 0, so like, duh. So, that's what I would change with Supremacy. Now, this VK, you can pen the sides with Hesh. Like, the 2.5B, it's a lot better now than it used to be. Would I still recommend it? Not really. Like, if you're in your first couple of tier 10s, definitely not. But if it's like, you have 20 and you want another, hey, I ain't gonna judge. Go for it. If you can suffer through the Churchills, that is. Obviously, that is the downside of that. And now, we'll go from a downside to gun depression. And that is the Type 71. I highly recommend running this tank with the gun depression. Now, why is that? The mobility equipment can be nice if you know how to use it, and if you are a very skilled player that doesn't care about gun depression, then the mobility can be made to work. However, I would always recommend running the gun depression, because why is that? Now, the explanation for that is relatively simple in the first instance, because the mobility doesn't make it better, really. It gives it better traverse, and it gives it better ground resistance. It doesn't make it too much faster, it doesn't change the top speed. Yes, it accelerates faster, but you can't hunt mediums with it all of a sudden. You can't do something with a vehicle that you previously couldn't, essentially, if you use the mobility. It's just slightly better at what it already does. Now, if you use the gun depression, you can now play a lot more positions and can go hull down in a lot more places. And that is a far bigger improvement than having slightly better ground resistance and a lot better traverse. So, because especially if you play this thing correctly, you won't require a lot of traverse anyway, because you ain't gonna try to fight a leopard in that thing. Nah. So, and if you want to fight a leopard, just put your ass on a rock, can't circle you, poof. So, the gun depression is the better and the safer option for this vehicle. Especially now, you can go up to this bridge right here, a bit over peak there. You can go up, and all you can do is take some free shots. Now, the Type 71 is one of those vehicles that carry themselves by enemy stupidity. The vehicle itself isn't really that amazing. The tank itself doesn't have anything outstanding. It's nothing special. It's nothing world-breaking or good, in fact, even. The thing that makes it good, however, is the combination of factors that it has. The armor, frontally, is very, very strong, especially on a turret. Which means, if the enemy doesn't know where to aim, doesn't know how to aim, doesn't know the weak spots of this vehicle, this thing becomes insanely strong. I call that buff by stupidity. Same thing happens to the mouse as well. Whereas the mouse is an absolutely horrible vehicle, but it has the armor, so that the average 40%er isn't going to pen you anywhere, and that makes the tank massively better than it should be, basically. And that's essentially the same for this one, because the DPM is not great, and the alpha damage for the DPM isn't great either. You have an IS-7 with roughly very similar DPM and higher alpha damage, and you have something like a Chieftain with 600, 700 DPM more at the same alpha damage. So the gun ain't really that great, but what carries this tank is its ability to attract stupidity. Whereas a Chieftain, it's gonna get penned a lot more than this one. So that's where it sort of equals out there. Now, all you gotta do, sit in the corner, poof. Now, hold on meta, ain't fun, ain't great. Best way to change this thing, give it an E5 cupola. Like, problem solved. If anyone ever complains about this tank, give it an E5 cupola, you solve the whole problem. So, now, ST1, you can't do anything about it. Now, it was a 5v3, now it's a 3v3, because what you want to do if you're at a disadvantage, you always want to take out the easiest target first, because obviously it's the easiest target to kill, and you're the lowest at risk to lose more hit points, because you want to preserve your hit points as far as possible. And then you move on to the targets. First, you kill what's easiest to kill, then you kill what's most convenient to kill, and then you kill what's hardest to kill. Now, convenient basically means they're lower on HP, or they're a worse tank than you, or you see that they're a bad player, something like that. Easiest to kill is basically a one-shot. So, now, Progetto, he's just sitting down there. He doesn't have a camo. Players without camouflage tend to be worse than the average with a camo. Keep that in mind. So, not always the case, obviously. However, especially on medium tanks, medium tank players without camo tend to be not that great. So, there is that. Now, all you gotta do is not have the points get you, and very, very easily just get out this IS-7. He's in 1v2, and again, what he should do is isolate targets. Now, problem is obviously this is supremacy again, so he has to worry about the cap circle. He has to do something about the cap. If the cap wasn't there, he could very easily push Miserenta here, just completely overwhelm him, try to ram him, try to do 460. He's 468 if he high rolls. Gun. Otherwise, you can ram him for 20 damage and then it's done. But he has to worry about the points, and now he has to not worry about anything because he is dead. And, well, there's that. 5.9k damage, almost 6,000. Not quite. Not an ace there, because aces are not decided by damage. Aces are decided by XP alone. And now here we go with a TVP, which I think has a stock crew, and is played by the Blitz Craig, which either is misspelled on purpose or you didn't pay attention in your English class, or German in that matter. So, yeah. Anyway, let's see what we can do here. Now, gonna peek, take a spot. That's very nice. 2 seconds into your clip. I don't know if this is stock crew or if it's before 9.1, but I don't think stock crew impacts the unload speed, so it's probably before. But anyway, now let's have a look. Unload all the 3 shots, 4 shots, and poof, nice damage. Now, this tank essentially got adjusted and buffed in that sense because the faster a paper tank like this can unload, the more useful, the more protected it will be, because obviously, like Sheridan, has to peek half the amount of times of a Leopard, right? So you have half the amount of chances for the enemy to shoot back at you. Means the Sheridan is then going to be somewhat easier to play, and that's also annoying. And now what you want to do there, I kind of question the pick of the med kit here, as the multi-kit, med kit and repair kit, but if you want to be really safe in a tank like this, you can do that. Don't recommend it, however, it's workable basically. And now the Yo and the Leopard are kind of a bit pushy. The problem with this game really is that a lot of his team is, or hers, or theirs, or it. Maybe he's a cat. Maybe they're a cat. Who knows? So, yeah, I'll just use whichever is most likely and most convenient. So, most of our team is in the city, which is not great. Obviously, you don't want your heavies to just sit there and do nothing, essentially, most of the time. But that's fine for now, because they're busy. And they're keeping the enemy busy. And all you're going to do, 1,170, it's clippable. All you're going to do now is take out this Yo, but the 180 is on the plans, takes the last shot. 3k damage, just like that, with 3 clips. And that's how you do play this vehicle, right? You don't want to be in the firing line. You always want to be the one you shoot when you can't be shot. That's essentially the way you want to play a vehicle like this. And the same is true now for an AMX-50B or an FE4005. You play it in a way where you only shoot when you can't be shot. Because even with 2 clips, you're going to do 2,400 damage. And that is already a lot above average. And that's fine, right? If you get 2 good clips per game, then you got a good time already. And that is very lovely. And now, the VK90 is like, this is my life now. Obviously, he's trying to push himself into the wall, which is exactly what you want to do if you're heavy in this situation. If you're heavy in a situation like this against the medium, just push yourself up against the wall, because then the medium tank can't get around you or circle you. And then all you gotta do is, you know, hope that you can somehow wedge yourself around them and shoot them, or they run. So, push, again, behind him. And that is a very lovely game right there. With, I don't know if it was stock crew, I think I read something about it, but I think one of the 3 games was something with stock crew, is probably this one. But anyway, that is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you learned something, hope you saw something. What would you have done better in these games? What would you have done worse? Put it in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.